welcome to day 12 of our Christmas countdown. Christmas countdown. Yeah. Oh my gosh, we should be more quiet.
Totally.
We could be a duet with the light.
Maybe. Yeah, we'll see.
That'd be so good. I'm getting off topic.
I don't know.
We're really excited. This week we've got a story for you guys and it's super great. Have fun watching this video.
This is the story of the littlest watchman. And it's a story all about waiting. Once upon a time, on a quiet hillside, a little boy sat beside an old tree stump, watching and waiting. His name was Benjamin, and he was a watchman. Being a watchman was a pretty big job. Benjamin did his best to take it really seriously, but the problem was his main duty was to sit still and stare at a really boring tree stump, which made it kind of hard to stay interested. Even so, he knew that people in the village were counting on him. Benjamin's father was also a watchman, and he taught him all about it. "So you want me to just sit and stare at a tree stump?" Benjamin asked. "Well, it's not about staring, son, it's about waiting," his father said. "Every day and every night, one of us is waiting. We watch for the sign of the arrival of the king, just as our Maker has promised." Well, Benjamin's father had raised him to know the old ancient stories. He told him once how long ago their Maker created the world and everything in it. All of it was very good, and the Maker had created people to love him and care for his world. But something went terribly wrong. The people chose to follow their own plans. They disobeyed their Maker, and in doing so, they allowed a curse to enter the land, the curse of sin. And this curse brought pain and sorrow into all of their lives. It all seemed hopeless. The world was still beautiful, but now, because of the curse, it was broken. Benjamin's father taught him that the Maker had promised them to send someone who would undo the curse. He had promised to send them a king who would rescue them and restore the whole world. Instead of leaving them like an old useless stump, the Maker promised that a new branch, one man, would grow his people into a fruitful tree. This man would come from a family of a man named Jesse. The watchmen did trust, and they did their best to help others to trust. They reminded the people about what the Maker had said hundreds of years before. "There shall come forth a shoot from the stump of Jesse, and a branch from his roots will bear fruit." But the Maker had been awfully quiet. Many years now, people had trusted his promise and just kept waiting. Now, Benjamin wanted to be a good watchman, but he found it really difficult. For one thing, it had become really boring. He tried to focus by tracing the rings of wood around on the stump, circling his eyes around and around as he thought about the Maker's promise. But as hard as he tried, it only took a skittering bug or the hoot of an owl to make him completely lose all concentration. Besides that, Benjamin struggled because everyone laughed at him. Sometimes the other children from the village would throw things at him while he stared at the stump. And then there were the shepherds. Oh, they would walk past him on the way to the fields, most nights laughing and having a really good time. They have all the fun, Benjamin thought. They're not stuck just staring at an old stump. I wish I could have been a shepherd instead of a watchman. Night after night he kept watch, hoping the stump would suddenly have a shoot in the middle of it, but it never did. One day it became even harder for Benjamin to focus. The road became really busy, travellers pouring into the village. There were people of all sorts, men and women, old and young, some carts and donkeys. Benjamin even noticed a man helping a very pregnant woman along the road. Along with all these distractions, something deeper started to trouble Benjamin. He had always believed the Maker would send the promised king, but now he couldn't help but wonder why it was taking so long? Maybe he's not coming at all. The thought left him confused and a little bit ashamed. Maybe I should just go and become a shepherd, he thought. It seems I'm just not cut out to be a watchman. But as he gazed at the shepherds, Benjamin's eyes squinted and then widened. The shepherds were not alone. In the sky above them, a single light was shining down, and suddenly a glorious brightness lit the night sky. Shading his eyes, Benjamin could see a host of dotted lights within a larger glow. He couldn't make out the words, but he could hear that the lights were singing, joyously singing. He sat spellbound as he took in the light and the tune. It was so beautiful, he never wanted it to end. But something drew his attention back to the old stump. His eyes had been trained to know every detail of the stump. It never changed. It was always the same. Until now. Growing out of the hardened wood on top of the stump was a small green shoot. A flood of joy filled Benjamin as he remembered the Maker's promise. There shall come forth a shoot from the stump of Jesse, and a branch from his roots will bear fruit. How quick as he could, Benjamin jumped up and ran forward towards the village down into Bethlehem, barely able to contain his excitement as he darted along the path. And as he reached the edge of the sleeping houses, the words burst out of his mouth. He's here! He's here! The King has come! And just then, the door of a small building swung open and light from inside spilled out onto the street, and Benjamin heard a familiar voice, the voice of one of the shepherds. Yes, the King has come. Would you like to come in and meet him?
Wow, that was really beautiful.
That was really good. And guys, make sure you tune in tomorrow because we have something extra special. See you then.